Top 10 royal privileges that should be banned. Starting off with number 10, exempt from the law. King Charles is exempt from civil or criminal prosecution because he enjoys sovereign immunity. Additionally, the late Queen Elizabeth II was subject to this rule. Although civil and criminal proceedings cannot be taken against the sovereign as a person under UK law, according to a previous guidance on the royal family's official website, the Queen was careful to ensure that her personal activities were carried out in strict compliance with the law. The fact that members of the King's family are exempt from jury duty is one royal benefit. Avoiding jury duty typically results in a fine of up to £1,000. Jury duty is not required for the King and members of his immediate family. The royal family is under few requirements to disclose details of its wealth, but all I'm gonna say is, if you want to find out, it's not too difficult to go all Sherlock Holmes on the family. The family's communications with the government are exempt from freedom of information requests. Their official papers are kept secret by Britain's National Archives for at least 50 years. The lack of transparency has led anti-monarchy groups, including the Republic, to call the monarchy an unaccountable public institution that has the power, secrecy, and influence to willfully abuse its position. Without a change, many details of the royal family's private wealth may never be known. Facts about the Duchy of Lancaster's offshore investments were leaked back in 2017. Those detailed roughly $13 million in offshore accounts. I wonder what else can be revealed if more documents were leaked suddenly. Seriously, we need some investigative work done on this family. Other reports have suggested questionable foreign dealings or arrangements. King Charles was accused of offering to help secure a knighthood for a Saudi national in response to a donation to his charitable foundation. Representatives of Charles denied any impropriety. Sounds a little suspicious to me though. Number 9, do the royals make the government money? The royals promote Britain and bring in money from tourists. The monarchy increased UK tourism by more than $640 million in 2017. Yeah, that's a pretty large amount. The Crown Estate still contributes a significant amount of money to the government despite the fact that the sovereign grant is expanding, which results in increased funds for the royal family. Groups that oppose monarchy don't really believe that the royal family makes money. Do you agree, or do you think they're just being mean? They believe that the monarchy costs the nation approximately $400 million annually. The family's protection was estimated to cost the government over $100 million annually. They really said, let's put millions of dollars towards protecting one of the richest families in the world. I mean, that money could have gone toward better causes like assisting with the issue of homelessness or providing money to low-income families, but instead they said $100 million to protect a rich family. The royal family could possibly receive the same amount of money from tourists while still receiving less money for themselves. We may never know how much of this additional tourism revenue is actually directly related to the royal family's current position, because the historic buildings and memorabilia could likely attract tourists even if there was no current royal family. Charles wants to slim down the monarchy by having fewer senior royals participate in public events after becoming king. Additionally, he mentioned the possibility of additional revenue from the public access to royal properties. Even though this might be a good business move, I think these anti-monarchy groups might be right. I don't think royal life needs to be paid for with so much money from taxpayers, but obviously that won't change. Number 8, sovereign grant. The sovereign grant contributed to a number of really important things, one of which was the $92 million renovations of Buckingham Palace. The fact that the palace has spent close to $100 million on renovations alone cannot be for aesthetic or tourist purposes. Their palace and way of life must be as royal as their title, but at what cost? Despite their desire to be relatable to the general public, I can't say that's the most relatable thing. According to royalists, these expenses only amount to 1 penny per British citizen per year. That enhances it significantly. Regardless of whether they liked it or not, every Brit contributed to the multi-million-dollar renovations. Number 7, speed regulations. When police officers drive the king, prime minister, and other members of the royal family on official business, they can drive as fast or as slow as they want. The Road Traffic Regulation Act, as reported by The Sun, gives police, fire, ambulance, and other enforcement agency vehicles permission to exceed speed limits. When performing royal duties, the royals' vehicles are exempt from speed limits because they're always driven by police escorts. Number 6, no passport to travel for the reigning monarch. The name of the Queen appears on every British passport. According to the website of the royal family, the Queen did not need her own passport to travel. Passports will probably be changed to show King Charles as the new ruler now that Queen Elizabeth has passed away. This, like the process of changing British stamps and money, will be gradual and could take years. According to the royal family website, each other member of the family owns a passport. Number 5, driver's license. During World War II, Queen Elizabeth completed training for the Women's Auxiliary Territorial Service as a mechanic and driver at the age of 18. The Queen never had to take a real driving test and can drive without a number plate because all driver's licenses in the UK are issued in her name. As the new monarch, King Charles is no longer required to have a driver's license. Number 4, no need to pay taxes. According to a previous report from The Insider, the Queen made voluntary payments on income, assets, and gains that were not used for official purposes, despite the fact that the monarch is not required by law to pay taxes. The Prince of Wales' income from the Duchy of Cornwall is one example of the royal family's income that is exempt from taxation. However, the official website states that he also voluntarily pays income tax on all revenue from the estate. After inheriting the properties from his mother, Queen Elizabeth, Charles has been getting a lot more attention, and obviously, we're gonna dig into the English wealth and their secrets. For a regular British citizen, any inheritance over $380,000 is taxed 40%. But King Charles doesn't have to pay anything on properties, jewels, and investments that probably are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Whatever happened to eating the rich? The royal treatment is getting out of hand. Having all this money and privilege on top of not having to pay taxes? Every day this family makes me wonder why I wasn't born a royal. According to the British government, the monarchy as an institution needs sufficient private resources to enable it to continue to perform its traditional role in national life, and to have a degree of financial independence from the government of the day. Am I the only one who feels like the British government is sucking up to the royals? Or is everyone in the UK in some trance? Because considering their extremely problematic history, how are they getting away with all of this? It has to be a trance, right? Maybe that's what they're hiding from us. They might not even be royal. Maybe they just set up a whole castle, entranced the whole country, just so they don't have to pay taxes. The same document explains that the British Crown is also not legally liable for income tax or capital gains tax. Personally, I think the British people should overthrow the throne at this point because taxes shouldn't be reserved for regular citizens. But that's just me. Or what if they flipped and only taxed the extremely rich people? That is a society I would love to live in. Number 3, royals versus taxpayers. Even though the monarchy makes money, the royal family is expensive. They cost taxpayers $86 million in 2018 and 2019. This was 41% higher than the year before. How can it be that thousands of people are in debt, increasing debt, while more money is going to the royals? Many agree that this wealth would be more beneficial to education systems than to a random family who just so happened to be born into this privileged bloodline directly linked to the crown. Not only does the system cost the British public money, but they're also unable to choose which ruler will succeed them. As a result, taxpayers have no control over the system, which costs them a lot of money. When the royals' wealth is compared to that of the population, it really shows their privilege over the general population. In England, a full-time employee earns an average of £31,487, while the late Queen received approximately £42.8 million for being a queen. You will never face the same difficulties as the majority of people if you are born into the monarchy. They do not have to worry about their finances and are not expected to work a 9 to 5. While some people are given a somewhat comfortable life, the majority of society works hard to achieve it. Number 2, traveling with taxpayers' money. The royal family is careful about how they behave in public when it comes to extravagant spending because they are aware that they are paying for it with tax dollars. The royal family has been known to fly on low-cost airplanes, and pay for some of their own travel, despite the high costs associated with major events like weddings. But that is literally not always the case. The prices of these royals trips over the past few years have been outrageous. A Caribbean tour Charles and Camilla took cost $530,000, which they somehow managed to spend. Will and Kate's trips, which cost an estimated $130K, were among the other trips that were quite expensive. I have to find a way to go on these trips because I know they have a great time. How could you not after spending hundreds of thousands of dollars? And in case you haven't noticed, they take their public persona very seriously. If they were to act recklessly, they probably wouldn't have as much support, so that makes sense. They feel a sense of responsibility to the public that funds their lifestyle. The paparazzi's attempts to catch them in awkward situations are hilarious. It's exhausting to think about being absolutely delightful and perfect all the time. If they misplace their luggage at the airport, do they still have to behave perfectly? I'm aware that many of us would be furious. In all honesty, I would want to watch the news if this family awoke one day and decided to become barbarians. The once perfect royal family becomes barbaric. That is a complete YouTube video. Number 1, reckless spending. Their worries about money are so different from the average person. It's also interesting to consider that their lifestyle is paid for by regular people. Let's be honest, we already know that they maintain this facade in order to give the impression that they aren't reckless with their money because they are royalty and have become accustomed to a life of opulence. Nobody would be able to stop them from spending a few extra dollars, or in their case, a few additional millions, if they really wanted to. It's possible that the Cambridges understand how frequently they used the family helicopter. It's implied that it was used a little more than the Queen wanted, even if they say it wasn't used very often. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge's trip to the Caribbean was another expense that strained the family. For that one trip, the cost of chartered flights was $268,000. They almost spent $300,000 on the flights alone. I really need to know what they were up to. And that is all for today's top 10. Let me know if you think these privileges are worth banning in the comments. And don't forget to like this video if you think William is going to be a better king than Charles. Subscribe for more royal news, and I'll catch you next time on The Rich Life.